Wait, what? I can do that? This is Eric Bell with Wait, What? Financial matters that matter for business and the people that own them. If you missed our previous episode, we spoke to Mike Acasio with the Small Business Development Corporation of Orange County regarding avenues to capital. I have the pleasure of having Abdi Ahmed with me. The topic today will be cyber threats. Why should business owners be concerned? Abdi Ahmed is president and CTO of NetServe Systems in California, an IT consulting company that helps businesses, small and large, stay safe from cyber attacks. Abdi holds a bachelor's degree and master's in computer science and started his career with Apple Computer as a software engineer. Abdi is a sought-after speaker in the cybersecurity world where he speaks at medical and other professional conferences throughout the country. Abdi has over 25 years of experience in IT and cybersecurity. Abdi, thanks for joining us.
Sure, you're welcome.
You know, I want to just kind of jump into a couple questions with you in terms of cybersecurity, because a lot of people, they hear it, but they don't know what that means. And one of the first questions I had for you is, why should a small company or a mid-sized business care about cybersecurity? I thought it was mainly a primary concern for the big corporations like Facebook and companies of that sort. But why should a small company or mid-sized company be concerned about it or care about it?
Thank you, Eric. First and foremost, thank you very much for inviting me today. And that's a very good question, by the way, and we hear that a lot. People think, small businesses especially, and small business owners, and business owners generally, think that simply because you're small, nobody really cares. Bad guys are after Home Depot, Target, Chase Bank, and the rest. But in fact, 70 to 75% of penetrations, or at least in terms of attacks, are aimed at small business because it's much easier to penetrate. It's much easier. Think about it. Driving in a neighborhood, if you see a sign that has an ADT, security sign in front of it,
right,
you're very unlikely to actually go ahead and break into that house versus the next house which does not have that. Then you can actually jump in and do that.
That's right. Yeah, no, I understand. Let me ask you another question. How can a business or an individual protect themselves from cyber threats? That people are always concerned about, how do I protect myself from a cyber threat once they learn what they are?
First and foremost, keep in mind, complete protection is almost impossible. If anybody tells you that they guarantee you that you won't be hacked, you should not be buying that. It just makes no sense at all. What you can do is you can mitigate the risk to a large extent. The former director of FBI said once, there are two types of companies that have already been attacked and companies that are being attacked. So on a daily basis, everybody is being hit, whether it's a PC at home, at your house, or in your office, or even your handheld device like your mobile phone. You're being hit left and right. It's just a matter of time when they actually collect pertinent data, a data that can actually be utilized. And by the way, the intent is not to harm your PC or to really hijack it. It is to have a presence in there and then profile your behavior in terms of what you're doing. So let us say you shop at Nordstrom or you go to Starbucks once a day and you spend no more than $7. What the hackers do is they stay on your system, actually manage and monitor that profile. And the next time around, they go, Eric actually goes to Starbucks and spends about $7 or no more than $7. So there will be a credit card transaction of $7 and make it as if it appears as if it had come from actually Starbucks.
Wow. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yes, so that way you really don't understand or you don't even pay attention to it. When you see that, you just say, oh yeah, this is one of the transactions that I always, I tend to go to Starbucks and I spend less than $8.
So they're setting you up for a bigger attack is what they're doing?
Absolutely.
Wow. So talking about your PC and your mobile devices, how do I know if they've been infected or that the virus or something is in them?
That's a very good question. The first and foremost, what you really need to do is, number one, and yes, having an up-to-date antivirus does help, but it does not provide you a complete protection because protection is based on what we call permission-based penetration. In other words, you as an individual can click on a link that was sent to you. Your antivirus cannot do much about a link that you clicked on.
Oh,
that
wow.
link allows the malware to come in and, of course, take over your machine.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing you want to do is make sure you have a credible antivirus. Make sure you have a firewall of some kind. And when we say firewall, we can talk about it a lot, but there's a software-driven firewall by the OS itself, by the operating system, or a hardware firewall that you can actually buy from Best Buy for $60 or $120. And for home, that's good enough if you actually get that, but you need to have some sort of protection. And most important thing is, if you have a link that you think somebody had sent you and you don't know who that person is, or even it could be a friend. If it's suspicious, please do not click on it. Better yet, if you have to, make sure you click on your iPhone and not even your Galaxy or other devices. iPhones are more robust and more secure. So if you think you have to click on a link and that link might be suspicious to you, go ahead and do it from your mobile device. Don't do it from your PC or laptop, because that infection can actually be propagating itself soon.
So, this is a question kind of off track. I get things all the time saying, we can give you cybersecurity. We can do this. How do I know if it's a legitimate company or not? Are there certain companies that are more legitimate than others, or what would you recommend?
Yes. The biggest problem you have in this industry is everybody's telling you everything that you want to hear, and the consumer is confused. The more confused the consumer is, the more likely you're to buy products that are not even relevant to your needs. So the best way, in fact, is to evaluate and only deal with credible entities. I'll give you a good example. LifeLock, for example. Everybody knows LifeLock. There was a guy that used to even advertise his social security number and say, here's my number. I guarantee you $2 million in terms of protection, and you won't be penetrated. And guess what? He actually was hacked.
Wow.
And he removed his social security from being displayed. Furthermore, the good thing is actually the product was purchased by Symantec. It is part of the Norton security system. So there's no guarantee that everything will work for you. And from a perspective of credible entity, where you buy it from, my suggestion is you deal with companies like Cylance or Norton, ESET, and the rest. When you're looking at a product, nowadays, the best products are what we call AI-based or artificial intelligence-based. So antiviruses themselves in the past were what we call definition-based. They would define all the viruses they know of and then protect against those.
Okay.
And sometimes a virus could actually be invented this morning at 10 o'clock and pushed out to the rest of the world. And Norton and the rest of the guys will find out by 1 p.m. So there's a 3-hour gap. The AI product, artificial intelligence-based product, what they do is they look at a pattern and they go, I know you probably are some sort of program, but I'm not sure if it's a program that actually belongs here, and therefore I'll just block you for now.
Wow.
So it actually blocks it, and it brings you as a user to your attention and says, I don't know what this program is. I don't understand the pattern. It's out of the norm, and therefore I blocked it. So you can go ahead, and if you doubt it, you don't do it.
Right, right.
So that is the future of the antivirus programs.
I was going to ask you, is it good enough to have a firewall and antivirus to be safe from cyber threats, or is there more that should be done?
There's more to be done. There should be more to be done. The best thing is to be training yourself. If a link comes and you don't know that link, or an email comes from Eric Bell, for example, but if you hover around that email itself, it might say Eric Bell, but it might also say something else, the email string itself. And it could be from China or somewhere else.
So not my normal email address.
Exactly.
Okay.
And paying attention to that. The other thing is a lot of the sites are nowadays doing what we call multi-factor authentication. What multi-factor authentication means is two things. Something that you are or something that you have. So, for instance, you might go to your bank using a mobile device or maybe laptop, which you have not done in the past. So your bank understands, this is a new computer that you haven't logged in from in the past. I want to know if that's actually you. So it wants to authenticate you by something you have. In other words, your handheld device, your iPhone.
Yeah.
So they will send a text message to your iPhone.
Yeah, that's happened to me.
With a code on it.
That's happened to me. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's something you have.
Mm-hmm.
So it says, hey, you have not logged in from this computer in the past. If you are really Eric Bell, we just sent you a text message to something that you have, which is your iPhone. Put that code in here.
No, that's happened to me.
Put that code in, and then that authenticates you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go in. The second option is called biometric. So, for example, either thumbprint or retinal or whatever it might be. But it is something that is you.
Let's talk about the small to medium-sized company. Is Norton and Symantec, is that good enough for a company with 10, 20, 30, or even greater?
Not really. No.
Okay.
If a company has 5 or more users, I strongly suggest that they seek professional help in terms of securing their environment, because all it takes is one penetration. And by the way, penetration are two ways. One is from outside, where someone's coming from outside to get into your system. And the other one, in fact, is some disgruntled employee or some former employee who actually had, so for example, the Wi-Fi access. As you fire someone, or you had fired someone 3 weeks ago, They drive by with their girlfriend and sit by the parking lot. And they have access to your network through the Wi-Fi.
Wow.
Have you actually made that change? 99% of our clients don't do that.
So they don't shut down the former employees' access to their internet.
Absolutely. They might shut down to the workstation and to the server and to the network, but not to their Wi-Fi infrastructure, which is part of the bigger network. So this person can come in, log in, and through that penetrate the system, especially if they're techie.
You know, Abdi, you've worked with a lot of people. Can you tell me a couple of the clients that you've worked with, in terms of medium size, large, or small?
Sure. On the small SMB market, small to mid-sized businesses, we work with 3 different types of clients. We work with a lot of medical doctors, medical field. We work with a lot of legal attorneys and also financial CPAs, accountants, wealth management. So those are the 3 areas, all professional vertical on the SMB market. We also work with larger corporations such as, for example, Honda, Toyota, Best Buy, Hilton, the Marriott, and a few others.
I have one final question. This is probably a rhetorical question, but is there any permanent solution to a cyber threat as you know it today?
No. What we call, for example, advanced persistent threat will always be there. And advanced persistent threat simply means that someone in China, in Russia, in Malta, in Israel, wherever it might be, is actually a 16-year-old kid who's socially challenged, has access to an internet, and actually doing all kinds of, the challenge you have with the internet is this. It's very democratic. We're all equal. It's all about talent. The PC that I have in my office is the same one that you would buy from Price Electronics for $500. So you go online, you write a script that collects data or actually go into the dark web, for example. And by the way, on the dark web, one of my presentations, when I go, I can actually show you right now your passwords that are valid.
Wow.
I can go in there and, for example, one of the latest things that we see with our clients is what they call sextortion. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
No.
Sex extortion.
No.
So what happens is an email will come to you, and it happens all the time now, and it says, hey, Eric, I know you go to these sites, and I know you're doing X, Y, Z, and I know you have very good choices, and I've seen some of those. And
so you're talking about dating sites?
Well, not only dating sites, no.
Okay.
And then they will give you a user ID and a password and say, you think I don't know about you? Here's the user ID that you use when you go to this, and here is the password. And this will be one of the passwords that you've had, maybe the one that you're using now or something that you've used in the last 6 months. And you freak out. Some of our clients call the FBI right away. And some say, oh my goodness, what should I do? And then they ask for Bitcoin. They will say, send me $500 in Bitcoin in Czechoslovakia as soon as possible. Otherwise, after 24 hours, I'm going to let everybody who knows you on Facebook and all your business contacts, and here's a list of your contacts, by the way, and I'll give you a screenshot of that. I'll share this information with you.
Wow.
People freak out and think, oh my goodness, what do I need to do now? So here's the deal. The question is, how do they find your password? How do they know your user ID? We all know that, for example, was it Experian that got hacked?
Correct.
Or, for example, Home Depot, Chase Bank, and all these guys. When these guys get hacked, the hackers actually get hold of the user ID and passwords. And then they put on a dark web for sale.
Mm-hmm.
So you might have changed your password, but if I show you user ID, which does not change as often, but your password does, and I show you your password that you've used the one in the past, then you go, they actually have something on me, because that's your password. So the source might not be you, but the source is the big boys, like Experian or Wells Fargo or Chase or somebody else who have already been hacked, and that database is actually on the hands of the bad guys and can be found on the dark web. I can show you in 5 minutes.
So, if I understand you right then, so a lot of the big companies, they have IT departments. Mm-hmm. So you go in and consult with them to kind of help them upgrade their talent, help them look at things that they may not be looking at, or I'm trying to understand how you work with a larger company or a medium company that may have an IT department already. Yeah,
the larger companies invest a ton of money on their infrastructure. Yet they're being penetrated all day long, all the time. A good example is Home Depot, and now we know Experian is going to pay to the tune of $700 million to the federal government as part of the settlement. The challenge is when we come and get involved, if we come on early on, that's very helpful. But the challenge you have is really at one point in time, most of these guys will call you when it's too late. Penetration on an average, when someone penetrates on your system, they will stay there between 180 and 191 days, about 6 months. Why are they staying on 6 months and not doing anything? Because they want to learn the behavior, the pattern in which you do business.
Wow.
And they want to replicate that. I'll give you a very good example without naming names. One of the largest banks in the United States, top 3, they hire every once in a while what they call ethical hackers. They actually hire and bring them in. So this security consultant came in a few years back, this was back in 2017, and told the banks that we spent over $800 million last year on our infrastructure. We are secure. We want you to look at it and see if you can actually hack or penetrate. Do ethical hacking. The guy says, okay, so he made a presentation to the board members and the CTO and the rest of the guys and says, by the way, here's what I guarantee you. It's about 10 o'clock now. By 2 p.m., I will be able to penetrate your bank and have access to an amazing amount of information. Details about bank balance, social security, first name, last name, date of birth, and the rest. And they all laughed at him and said, okay. So about 11:30, the gentleman asked for a break, 15 minutes break. Came back, they continued. At 2 p.m. or so, he turned on his laptop. His laptop had its own Wi-Fi connection to outside, so he bypassed the network. Then connects to a proxy server in Romania. And then shows them transactions right there and then about this bank.
Wow.
And exactly. Wow. And they all freaked out and said, no, I'm not even... He did not see this bank spent over $800 million in their supporting that infrastructure. Yet, by 2 p.m., he was actually showing from that boardroom, he was showing them exactly what they were doing wrong in terms of actual accounts. What happened was during the break time, he had thumb drives, some flash drives, the security professional. He went to the parking lot, and on the top of each car, he put a little thumb drive and took off. All these tellers during lunchtime, as they come out of the building, they find a little thumb drive on the top of their car. When they come back to work, they're curious. They want to see what it does, so they plug into the USB port. And that had a payload. That payload automatically would do a screen capture and shoot it out to a server in Romania, which this guy had a direct access to.
Oh, my God. That's crazy. That's crazy. So there is no permanent solution, basically.
No, you have to be proactive about it. The solution is actually about training. 80% of it is about training.
Training your staff.
Your workforce.
Okay.
Your staff. If you train them, hey, that USB drive should never be connected. Have a corporate policy in place. Make sure that everybody is doing exactly what they're required to do and nothing more and nothing less.
Okay.
And if there is a link that's suspicious, please do not click on it. And especially if someone says, hey, send me the W-2 results for all the employees, and it will have come from the CEO or the CFO to the HR director. And the HR director looks at that email and without any hesitation, boom, replies to it.
Right.
But it actually ended up in Ukraine.
Wow.
Those are the challenges.
Is there anything that I missed, Abdi? I don't know a lot about cybersecurity. I don't know a lot about computers, period. Is there anything I missed that we should cover before we end?
The best way to secure yourself is really it's better not to do if you doubt it.
Okay.
Don't do if you doubt it. Don't click on a link that looks suspicious to you, and please go ahead and, especially for business, acquire a professional firewall and a professional antivirus program. Prevention is much better.
And NetServe can help put all that in place for you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thanks for being on here, Abdi. I appreciate it. If you want to get hold of Abdi Ahmed, please get hold of me at eb@wait-what.biz. Thank you, Abdi.
Thank you very much, Eric. Pleasure to be here.
Our next episode will be David Greenberg, and he will be discussing restricted property trust, which is a very innovative way to save for your retirement and do it on a tax-favored basis through your business.